Hey, what's up everyone? This is Silver Slayer. Thank you for tuning into this video. I want to compare and contrast stocks, Bitcoin, and silver because they're very different markets, but they do have some similarities, and upon the investor, you might diversify into some of these. A lot of people do invest into stocks and cryptocurrency, or maybe stocks and precious metals. So depending on your strategy, depending on which you like, which it should be a very individual choice. I mean, stocks have advantages that we'll go into later. Bitcoin does, and so does precious metals. So it really does, it depends upon the individual. And I think, making it sounds kind of mundane, but a pro and cons list, or kind of understanding whether you are someone who has the perfect exit strategy or perfect situation for each one of these categories, which I'll also explain. So hopefully by the end of this video, you will have a better understanding on what fits you, because what works for me might not work for you. Maybe precious metals and cryptocurrency is the routine or the option that was best fit for me, because I have a certain financial situation, because I have a certain buying time frame and selling time frame and certain resources. But maybe that's not the best for you. Maybe the best option for you would be stocks and precious metals, leaving out the cryptocurrency for many reasons, which we can go over. So let's start off. There's a lot to talk about in this. So let's break down each one of these investments to start off. So stock markets are very interesting. They're very volatile. They can become profitable, but it does take some research. And I think these markets, they're easier to someone who wants to be a day-to-day trader. If you're going to be marginal trading, if you're in this for the quick money, or whatever the case is, then stocks could be for you. You do have to pay attention to the markets, because once the new iPhone comes out, Apple usually bumps its stocks up, and so on and so forth. So you have to pay attention to stuff like that. It can be profitable. It is for you if you are in it for the short term. However, if you're in it more for a long-term preservation of wealth, then precious metals is probably more up your alleyway, because apart from stocks, a different type of perspective on life or investing would be that the dollar's collapsing. I want to preserve my money. I want to transfer it into something that holds its wealth. And that's where precious metals really play off of, especially if you're not so comfortable with things happening in the economy, whether it's the dollar, whether it's the political side of it, whether it's pollution, whatever the case is. Gold and silver are usually the perfect investment, because it brings a safe haven spectrum where you're putting your money, which is your fiat currency, into something that also is money. You're transferring it. And over time, what you do is you're putting your money in basically a time capsule. So even though the dollar's deflating, your hard-earned money, the wealth that you have, is staying put and holding its value. And that's the beneficial part that precious metals bring. So I'm gonna round back to the precious metals talk, because I think this is the smartest and safest investment. But I want to follow up with cryptocurrency, with Bitcoin, because Bitcoin's an interesting thing to talk about. I was heavily invested in the Bitcoin about a year ago, and I did it for about 2 years, and I taught a lot of you guys how to invest in the cryptocurrency. I got into Bitcoin when it was $1,800, and I sold around $20,000. So I made a decent profit, a very, very, very nice chunk of money. But Bitcoin is a very, very, very speculative investment. And I wouldn't even call it an investment, really, because it's interesting. It's cryptocurrency, so it's decentralized. There's no central bank, there's no bank of Bitcoin, there's no Bitcoin police. It's decentralized, so it's on everyone's network, and for something to be passed, it has to, get voted upon. And the cool thing about cryptocurrency is it stores everything on a blockchain. So everything runs from the blockchain, and it's a public database that stores everything. So it's public. So like when JP Morgan called Bitcoin a scam, we were able to see JP Morgan right afterwards bought millions of dollars in Bitcoin after they shot the price down. So there's some pros and cons about cryptocurrency. One, nowadays it's It's basically dead. It's a very dead market. It was once extremely profitable, but that time is far from past. Two, it's complicated. I mean, I took it upon myself to learn how it works, how the blockchain works, how all of this works, because I wanted to, since I have a channel that teaches people how to invest, I took it upon myself to learn it so then I could then pass that knowledge on to you guys for those who wanted to also invest in the cryptocurrency. So it can be beneficial, but it's time consuming, it's very complex, it's complicated, and it's dangerous. And I say it's dangerous for many different reasons. One, there is no Bitcoin police, like I mentioned. There's no bank of Bitcoin, so a lot of scamming goes on. It's untraceable, so a lot of illegal things on the darknet also happen. And if your wallet gets hacked, no one's going to refund you. There's no bank to say, oh, here you go. Or if you mess up and send your Bitcoin to the wrong address, that Bitcoin is lost forever and it will not be recovered. That's something to think about. It's dangerous. So it's like stocks, but Bitcoin is more based off of speculation. Now, a lot of gold is backed by Bitcoin, and a lot of Bitcoin's backed by gold. It's interesting nowadays. A lot of times you see APMEX, Provident Metals, JM Bullion, they all accept Bitcoin payments. And actually, they encourage you to pay with Bitcoin because the prices are cheaper than paying with US dollars or a credit card or a check. So it's interesting that they do that. Now, Bitcoin could be a solution because it basically is going against the dollar. Nowadays, we do see some central banks trying to get into Bitcoin, like Ripple. Like Ripple is it's a bank's form of cryptocurrency. So they merged a central bank with a decentralized currency, and it's called Ripple. XRP is the abbreviation. But it's still it still has a lot of flaws. It still is very, 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 very in its rough draft phase because it's not performing. It needs to be accessible, easily accessible for the everyday person to be able to understand it, how to buy it. Now, on Cash App, you can buy Bitcoin now. They make it very, very easy to buy it. But Coinbase, you have to set up all this stuff. If you want to make a desktop wallet or especially something like a cold wallet, which is much more difficult with your private key, a lot of people don't want to take the time out of the day to learn that. So going back to precious metals and Bitcoin are basically the same thing. They're going against the grain because they're not backed by fiat currency. Yes, spot price of silver is around $16.70. Yes, one Bitcoin's around $7,500. But the thing is, they have value within themselves. Like 1 ounce of silver is always going to have 1 ounce of silver in it, regardless of spot price. Bitcoin is always going to have one Bitcoin, which can be spent regardless of its USD value. So it's kind of going against the grain of fiat currency, and that's important because stocks are pegged to fiat currency. I mean, that's something to think about. When it comes to intrinsic value, it's very important that you understand what the word intrinsic means. Because if you're comparing all of these, each one of them have their advantages. If you're into the quick markets, then maybe stocks would be for you. If you trust the government, stocks would be for you. If you don't see us being $23 trillion in debt in the USA being a problem and you don't agree with some of the interest rates being bumped up or down, then maybe stocks are for you. But if not, then I would say that Bitcoin could be an alternative, but if you are not willing to take the time to learn it and accepting the risks involved. And by the way, always only invest as much money as you're willing to lose. Because as soon as it goes into any of these exchanges or sites or whatever, companies, you might as well have taken the emotional attachment out and said, I'm willing to lose all of this, because the chance of you losing it is higher than normal, especially if you are investing into something like cryptocurrency. So I don't want to see people putting up their houses for sale, selling their houses for Bitcoin and stuff like that. Now, also, precious metals plays a key fundamental part in our everyday world because it's highly used in the world for electronics and stuff like that. So this is why precious metals is the smartest, safest alternative. And I say alternative because there is no solution. It's the best option to what we have to play with. We've been dealt the cards. We can't fight and argue that. All we can do is choose how we play these cards and play the cards wisely, and the best hand to play is precious metals. It's used fundamentally throughout the globe. Industrial demand's rising, but the supply is diminishing. It's the most highly conductive metal for thermal conductivity and electricity, and no other metal performs the way that it does. It's been used as money for 6,000 years. It's a way to transfer your wealth against the deflating dollar. And that's that. It's that simple. Precious metals is, in my opinion, the smartest, safest alternative. But if you did find some benefits, some things that you take interest in throughout this video, whether it is stocks or Bitcoin, then go ahead, go for it. But never invest more than you're willing to lose, because some of these markets are riskier. I would say stock markets are safer than cryptocurrency right now at this point in time, but who knows? The tides can change. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to smash the like button. Make sure you subscribe if you're new, because I do post daily videos. Thanks for tuning in. This was Silver Slayer. I'll see you guys soon. Peace.